Blah, 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 blah.
It was way too
Welcome,
fast.
listeners. Welcome to Kyle and Cody's Called Cinemacast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Cody.
Yeah, and we're Saskatchewan's favorite cinema podcast. Yay!
As you keep
You
on
wait for
saying.
us every week very patiently. All 5 of you.
I mean, if you say it, it must be true, right?
So yeah, this week. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's don't you know? 90% of being like the smartest is saying everything like you're absolutely right, and then just hoping no one calls you on it. I mean, that's how Donald Trump operates.
I've called you on it repeatedly.
Yeah, you just say it incredibly confidently, and as long as no one challenges you in any meaningful way, you're all right. And then if they do challenge you, throw your money around and get the things working.
We don't have money
Yeah.
to throw around.
Not with that attitude, I don't. All right, so this week, Guns Akimbo, a 2020 film. So weirdly, the newest thing on the docket.
April 2nd and September. Huh.
Yeah, I think it was going to get like bigger theatrical releases, but COVID. Because like it says here, initial release is like February 27th in Russia. So that would put it like the next week in thing. So I might have, or I suppose it was one of the last things that was going in theaters. I think. Hold on, we'll find this out. It's got some box office. Oh yeah, release date is April 2nd in the United States, so that's just when things were popping off. So they might have, so they got like $800,000 in the box office. So in the United States and China are the big box. Yeah.
With that being said, you went out and you actually purchased the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple months ago, I think. I found it and gave you the digital code so you could download it from there.
I didn't use that.
Oh,
I stole it off the internet. Illegally.
I guess I paid for it for both of us, so I mean, does it really count? Do I have a budget here? I want to see how it.
No.
Yeah, this is probably one of the.
I can't find a budget on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I can't find a budget either. I imagine it's decent enough. It's got a lot of explosions and whatnot. I almost certain it costs more than Wolf Cop did. At the very least, because this has digital effects and everything.
And I mean, it only made 800,000 at the box office.
Yeah, probably would have made more if not for COVID. But yeah, this is one of those things where you kind of do gotta blame it on things. Director is Jason Lee Howden, and then obviously it's starring the Harry Potter himself, Daniel Radcliffe, as Miles. His name's on the second page of my notes because
Miles Lee Harris.
Yeah, Miles Lee Harris. They don't. Yeah, Miles Lee Harris. Fucking Google says Miles Casanova for some goddamn reason.
Yeah. So the thing is you come in and you take notes, and it's less organized than me, who has never taken a single note on this podcast ever, and I'm just reading things off the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, Miles Lee Harris, and then Samara Weaving plays the female lead Nix, and then Ned Dennehy plays the villain. Yeah, he's Irish actor.
Not to
bunch of UK
discredits.
What's that?
Samara Weaving's. I said not to discredit Samara Weaving's acting career, but she is the daughter of Hugo Weaving's, correct?
Is she? I have no idea.
Oh no, uncle.
Is she fairly newer actress? Yeah, she's actually one of the. Some reviewers figure she's really annoying. I actually find Ned's character to be more annoying of the two. I do not care for Ned as a villain.
Rector, yeah.
I think it very much depends on. I don't know. I bought Samara Weaving as a threat more than I bought Ned Dennehy as a threat. And like, yeah, it's annoying, but I think Nick's like the Samara Weaving's character Nick's her flaws are like related to the flaws of the movie, whereas I think Ned just doesn't really sell this way they're forming this character. He does a bit of his job, but it's just not too many decent. This film. Oh, Wait, no, that's Edwin. This is filmed. This is a New Zealand production, so that's pretty fun. New Zealand's a great famous filming place. So yeah, let's get into it, I guess. Yeah, we open the movie to a monologue from this computer head, which we do not see again in the rest of the movie. I think it's maybe supposed to be. I don't know who it's supposed to be, but yeah, it's just nowhere else in the rest of the movie. It talks about like, oh, everyone's in social media and you're doing it to get away from you're always clicking on super violent shit, and I'm like, no, I don't. I don't click on the super violent news. I don't watch TV news. Internet news is much less violence. Typically, we have rules here on the internet, unlike those that wild west wasteland that is daytime television, just showing murders on air all the time. Jesus. This is kind of out of nowhere. They don't come back to this computer head at any point in the movie. Just a random insert. I think you take this out and it doesn't affect the movie at all. But the movie really opens to some people driving a car and listening to the radio, who's playing off the computer head guy about listing off deaths and crime stuff, and they drop an F-bomb on the radio, which you can't really do. Famously crass and sinful medium of daytime radio. Just filthy. We need to get back on the internet where things are wholesome and normal. This is why you listen to podcasts. We talk like real. We don't make you bathe in the sinfulness of violence and real images of people getting murdered on the street on live television. Like I would never show you an image of someone getting murdered. Television would, especially American stuff. Not that I know about the Canadian stuff. I don't watch Canadian TV news either. I read articles. I like reading my news. I like reading my news because you can read it in your own internal voice instead of listening to whatever shithead is reading it out on the radio or television.
Yeah, okay, so with that being said, we're the same age, right?
Yeah.
But you act like an old man.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
To put this into perspective for our listeners, I was texting Kyle the other day and I said, hey, we're looking at new mics for season 2 because that's looming in the distance. And I said, do you want to buy this mic? And he's like, yeah, buy it for me and I'll write you a check.
Yeah.
Why do you use checks still?
Because I have a checkbook. I got one when I did things. I'm like, I haven't used all of them. I mean, I've only ever had one.
Why?
In like 10 years, I've only used like half the book.
Why do you use them in the first place?
Because my fucking... I never remember the pins on my credit cards, and sometimes it's easier just to pay the rent through a check or pay people back if I don't want to like carry money around.
Just use Interact e-transfer like the rest of the world.
I don't know how. I forget. It's like the bank makes me use like a very fancy password with a lot of letters, and I always forget what it is. I have it around, and I always misplace the thing that I have the notes on to tell me what the date is. The numbers I put in it are.
Why are you making notes?
Well, no, I only have one note, which is why I lose it all the time in my house.
Open your phone right now.
No,
Click
we're
on the
not.
memo.
We're not teaching me how to do internet banking over the podcast. Our podcast is boring enough as it is.
If we can't be the best podcast in Saskatchewan, we'll definitely be the most boring. We got to be number one at something.
Yeah, we see a car chase begin, and some gunfighting, and some images point up on the screen saying Vadim versus Nyx. It's like some sort of death match. Vadim is some guy, Nyx is some lady, and then they fight around. Some drones are falling around the car chase, televising it to over the internet, which I guess isn't televising something, but streaming it. But it's basically the same thing, except less inconvenient. So yeah, they're doing the car chase. It ends with a nice little slow-mo spin around of Nyx's car, and she shoots through the window of Vadim's car, killing him and his buddies.
Mhm.
And this is revealed to be on a streaming site called Schism, which streams death matches. So far, this is a plot that's been done before. I made a brief note of this. It was just like Death Race cinematic universe question mark. But no, I don't think this is quite the same universe. It's not as dystopic as that.
Yeah, and Death Race is like a separate island.
Well, I mean, Death Race was in like a dystopian society, so it doesn't quite fit as much. Like a lot of the same stuff's doing it, but it's
slowly getting there.
I actually think we're going into the RoboCop. Actually think we live in the RoboCop universe essentially, because I mean,
why?
Because if you see the RoboCop sequels, they're exactly the kind of thing the bad guys from the RoboCop movies would put out.
Yeah, I've never seen RoboCop, so
you've never seen either RoboCop or any of the RoboCops?
None of them.
Oh, maybe watch RoboCop at some point. RoboCop's pretty good.
This list is getting longer and longer and longer.
Oh, that's not on the pod. Yeah, we're doing a sneak preview of season 2. We're doing RoboCop 2. Anyway, back to the thing. We first get introduced to Daniel Radcliffe's character, Miles, who has an American accent. All right. It's very...
not necessary.
Yeah, no, I mean, he could just have his British accent, probably.
And I mean, in this movie, it kind of works because, like, in like Britain, everybody's supposed to be these like upstanding sounding citizen, and everybody's like drinking their tea. And I don't watch enough British television to make this joke work.
That is pretty much exactly what it is like.
And so, just to have this instead of the American guy coming in and being like, "Yeah, violent score, yeah," you could have this like normal British guy who's just like secretly into watching people get murdered on live television for the.
He has played Americans before. I think he did a thing about where he was like an FBI guy going after white supremacists, which is a thing they do sometimes, less often than they write stuff about black civil rights leaders instead of No, you gotta ignore the terrorists. We gotta deal with the black guys that want to vote. That's what the FBI needs to be wasting its money on. Damn you, J. Edgar Hoover.
I mean, I think
or
I
Herbert
actually
Hoover.
watched
Who cares? Did you?
The movie with Daniel Radcliffe, because every so often with Daniel Radcliffe being as big a name as he is, like you always see memes based around the movies he puts out, and I think one of these were captioned because he's doing the Hitler salute in one of the scenes, and it was like Harry Potter and Gas Chamber of Secrets, I do believe was the joke they were making.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't make the meme.
He's one of the 3 Harry Potter actors. I think he's I don't know, what's the Hermione played by? I forget her name.
Emma Watson.
Yeah, I think she's done a fair bit too. But yeah, it's only really
like the guy who played Ron Weasley is kind of making his resurgence back into the film. He did Sick Note on Netflix, but like I don't think he's been in a blockbuster movie ever since Harry Potter.
No, he's busy. He's busy. He's busy being a national treasure. Is what he's doing. He runs like an ice cream truck.
I don't know why he. Yeah, okay.
I mean, wouldn't you? If you had tons of money, wouldn't you buy an ice cream truck and feed hungry children who are hot in the British summers? He just wants to make people happy, Cody.
Okay, but like, and that's kind of like the polar opposite of like Daniel Radcliffe. Like Daniel Radcliffe is at such levels of fame now that he's kind of like just coasting on that Harry Potter fame and just kind of doing whatever movies or plays he really wants to. Because I'm pretty sure he did a play where he
Yeah.
was riding a horse naked.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
That was a thing. No, that was a thing.
And he did like Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, he has. I think he's in How Now You See Me too.
Yes.
But yeah, he hasn't really picked up another blockbuster yet or anything. Which I think he can do anytime he wants. He just wants to do this for a little while. So we get his little internal monologue. He's essentially a troll on the internet, like the good kind. He reports like people saying bad shit and doing like illegal shit online. And he's like a video game developer. He works on a dumb little mobile game, not making a ton of money and whatnot. His boss is a bit of a dick. He drops like a "you're fired" card on him to make a joke about him. So yeah, late at night he gets into a drunk argument with argument in a comment section on the Schism site, which he has found. Why he didn't just report it to police, I don't know. That seems like it would be in his MO for what he does. And eventually, after he has a big argument online, the admin finds his IP address and scares him with it, and then he closes his computer. After that, he gets a text from his ex because he had accidentally liked one of her things while he was stalking her over Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. That seems like a bad thing. He does get a he invites he invites her out to meet up at the park and the next morning. I guess that's turning out okay for him.
Also, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that either. So
sober up first.
He has so he goes to sleep. He has a dream about the girl Nova is her name, drawing something on his arm, and he has like asks her why she and we get introduced to the fact that she does art and that she's not doing art stuff for whatever reason, just because she doesn't have a good idea. And then he's awoken by a knock at his door, and some thugs break in, try to knock him out. We get introduced to the idea that Miles could take a punch, because he like punches one of the guys, punches him, and he's just like, normally that knocks him out, and then and then another one of the goons has to trank him in order to get him to go unconscious. He wakes up again briefly during a...
I said I like the names of these henchmen on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, they got fancy names. One,
Dane, Effie, and Buckface are their names.
Yeah, they're all right. I called them the mini bosses in my notes because they're kind of like the head goons. Mm-hmm. They're pretty decent enough little threats. He wakes up briefly while they're doing something to him, and then we find that he is deposited back into his room. At which point it is revealed that he has had guns surgically implanted on each of his hands with nifty little timer counters that tell him how many bullets he has in each of them. He has 50 bullets in each, I assume loaded from some sort of mechanism on his arm, which they never attempt to reload, which is a weird thing. There's a couple plot holes in this movie that bug me, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
It's like at some point the bullets start running out, and I'm like, is there no way for you to refill these? Like, let's be realistic here.
It kind of goes against the action movie cliche though,
Yeah.
where everybody's shooting guns with like zero abandon on how many bullets you have left in a gun. He's constantly needing to be able to manage his ammunition.
Yeah, to an extent, and then the bullet, and then normally in a movie, the bullets just run out when they say they run out.
Yeah.
It's a nice little gimmick. I just don't understand why they can't reload them.
Well, he can't.
I mean, I get this is maybe a shoddy job, but still.
He's got guns for hands. How do you want to reload?
Yeah, well, someone could. I mean, when he teams up with another character later in the movie, that person could maybe load them for them after they figured out what. I mean, finding out what bullets go in the gun is probably the easy part. But I mean, if you have assistance, you should probably be able to reload those.
Yeah, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, hope a henchman drops the exact same type of ammo that you need?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to get the bullets, but he does team up with someone with bullets.
Yeah, but do they have the ammunition he needs?
I guess it's just weird to me that they don't even explore that option or just ask the question like, "Hey, do you have 45 caliber bullets or whatever?" And they could have just been like, "Yeah, no, I don't use those. I prefer my 50 cals or whatever." Yeah, could have been as
But
simple as
he
that.
can't exactly walk into like a gun shop and be like, "Hey, I need a
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know
obviously that.
45
Yeah,
caliber." Like, he's got guns for hands.
yeah, it would have had to be something he found. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's weird. Yeah, it's just bugging me a bit. Um, his phone tells him that he has 24 hours to kill Nyx, who is the current reigning champ of the Schism deathmatch leaderboards. We get a brief little scene of Nyx killing a bunch of people and winning her, beating the former champ, or at least beating someone to give her enough points to become the current champ. Over a cover of like a really cool cover of Ballroom Blitz, which
Yeah.
I really like the covers in this. We also get a cover of "You Spin Me Right Round" like a record baby, right round like a record baby.
Yeah, and they're by the same band.
And are those both by the same? Are they both by Sweet? Is it?
No, the
Or
covers are both
no?
by the
Oh,
same
the
band.
covers. Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
they're
Yeah, that makes
done
sense.
by somebody named Three Teeth.
Yeah, I might have to look them up. I like these covers. I kind of want to listen to them a
Yeah.
little more. Yeah, worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Best, which I always like having a couple of good songs in a movie. As Nyx is winning her final match, or her match, the police start surrounding the building, and she has to escape, which she does successfully, revealing that this deathmatch thing is properly illegal, which wasn't clear up until now because this sort of thing, I don't know, could be an alternate universe or something. It could be like a Purgy universe where this shit is just
Yeah.
allowed. So yeah, we do know it's illegal. Nyx texts the schism leader's name, whose name is Richter. That's not revealed until a little later, and she tells her that she wants out, and he tells her one last job. You're killing and to kill Milesley Harris. She decides to get some information on Milesley Harris by putting on police disguise and just waltzing right into the police station to use their computer to do a record check on him, and also remotely install a tracking app on it,
Mm-hmm.
which is a thing you can do. I hope that's science fiction.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
It, at least not remotely, please. Cody, I need your reassurance.
I'm not up to date on current police technologies, so
Oh, and the police having this is also very weird. Like, that's probably something they shouldn't have that either. Like, you should probably have a warrant. At least have to go to like a special computer to do it.
but what I'm saying is that, I mean, I guess if you're gonna rob a place, the best time to do it is just look like you belong there.
So we get a scene of not Miles attempting to use the bathroom with his gun hands, which is very difficult. Eventually, he just pisses all over the floor, and he's just like, "Okay, it doesn't matter. You need to not shoot off your dick," which is the
This is
reasonable assumption here.
I was watching a video on YouTube with an interview with Daniel Radcliffe, and he spoke about this role, and he said, "Yeah, that was legitimately the scene that really sold me on this movie, was the bathroom scene." Because I mean, like you've got two options at that point.
I mean, even getting your pants down is going to be difficult on its own, and he's wearing pajama pants. That's still gotta revolves you like using your opposable thumbs normally. And he doesn't have those. He kind of just he'd probably have to like shove them into his pants or maybe into the pockets and do it like that. Just take the whole thing down. Yeah, he's lucky.
Or just pull it down far
I
and
think, yeah,
kind of fold it over itself.
yeah. You'd if you had pockets, it would make things a little easier.
What I'm saying is basically this: we're getting way too far into the semantics of this.
You see a glimpse of his penis if you're interested in that.
I wasn't looking.
I think it's there. It's maybe like a prosthetic. I can't tell. I didn't freeze frame.
Okay.
I mean, other people can if they want, but I'm going to choose not to. Nor am I
That's
going
fair.
to look it up. Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing, interesting thing about this, the famous image of this movie is him standing in like a bathrobe in like funny slippers holding his guns up like a madman. The outfit actually has like a valid reason within the movie. It's just the stuff he was wearing when he was taken, which is just a sleepwear.
Yeah.
And he can't change beyond like shuffling off his jacket or his bathrobe. So he looks like that through the movie. He can't even put on regular shoes. He just puts on those slippers, and he can't put on pants because, I mean, first of all, he wouldn't be able to zip them up, so they'll just fall over anyway. Much less use some sort of belt.
This comes down to, this really makes me ask the question of how much points do you think Miles is worth if there's like a score based system?
I don't know. Is it? Yeah, that's the question. Is it? Does it scale based on the difficulty of what? Because I mean, there's always
What I was gonna say is, I want to think that everything's just kind of a deathmatch rated system where it's like, oh, you kill your own opponent and you get a live. That's the prize, right?
I could also think that maybe it's based on what the odds are. Like if a strong opponent beats a weaker opponent, it's worth more. But I mean, this is also happening in the wild, sort of. So there are a bunch of situational difficulties that are gonna happen too. So there's that. Like clearly by the end of it,
Death by cop.
yeah, that's also a thing. But yeah, clearly by the end of it, Daniel Radcliffe puts up a certain points, and they wouldn't have had pre-made statistics for how difficult it would have been to beat him. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the guns drilled into his hands, because this brings up questions, because it's clearly not done very well. He probably has some sort of blood infection. He's almost certainly losing his hands. Right?
Probably.
I mean, you can get pins, but I don't think that's gonna...
I was gonna say it didn't really look like they had a pretty decent doctor who was doing it either. So, I mean, this is probably just like
Yeah, I mean, it's really slap
a
job.
shoddy back alley job.
Yep, through bones and stuff probably. He can't even open his hands beyond his one finger, which is trapped inside the trigger ring. But yeah, no, he's almost definitely got some sort of blood infection after this. It's surprised he doesn't heal over by the end of the movie. But I mean, the rules in this for injuries are kind of all over the place.
I mean,
like sometimes things hurt him really badly, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Some of the gunshot wounds are definitely ignored by the end of it.
You gotta assume that the gun in itself has some form of reverbs.
Yeah, no, it does hurt him when he fires it a bit. Like it is also loud, and I guess I don't know how well, like it is it. I suppose this might put the recoil directly into his hand, which is probably bad. Like, the recoil's directly through the middle of his bone. That's probably hurts really bad when he fires this thing.
Probably.
It's almost weird because I thought this is very body horror-y, but I was able to sit through it okay because they don't show them too much, or like it's from enough of a distance that you don't get a good glimpse of it all the time.
And I mean, he's already at such a heavy disadvantage up against like a trained killer that I don't see why they're like, oh, let's, and then gave him a handicap by putting guns on his hands.
Yeah, it's a weird little. I mean, I guess it turned out okay for ratings, as we find out later.
All because he hurt somebody's feelings on the internet.
Nix finds him pretty quick after this, as he leaves his apartment at like probably 9 a.m. ish. He sees Nix walking down the hallway and takes shots at him. So he hides behind his couch to avoid the gunshots. He tries to tell her not to hurt him and whatnot. He gets hit once. He manages to distract her by unmuting his TV and causing some sound, which causes her to shoot in that direction. And then he wanders out the window and gets away for a brief minute. Nix walks out onto the fire escape and sees that one of the drone cameras is around. She takes a shot at it, showing her contempt for this entire operation. Next, we get him walking down the street with his hands in his bathrobe pockets. He briefly tries surrendering to the cops, which is something he can't manage, which actually ages pretty well because this establishes that you cannot. I mean, I suppose this takes place in the States, and surrendering to the cops while holding a gun is not a practical out in this film.
2 guns.
Yeah, exactly. That's worse. And he can't put them down. So it's presented as really difficult to surrender, especially surrender himself peacefully, especially to a street cop. He starts running away after a while after they start pulling guns in on him, despite his protests. He gets tased and accidentally shoots one of the cops, and he manages to use that as an opportunity to escape. He wanders into the park and sees Nova. And I'm like, no, sweetheart, don't go talk to her. This isn't the time. She's not going to want to help you. You're late for your meeting as it is. This isn't going to turn out well.
I mean, here's the thing. If I'm trying to think of this from this girl's perspective. Your ex shows up. He's in his pajamas, disheveled. You know, he's got 2 guns on him. I'd panic. But I mean, like, what do you do at that point? Do you try and explain it to her that you've got guns strapped to your hands? Like, she freaks the fuck out, is what I'm saying. It's
yeah, absolutely.
Very justified.
The only thing I can think of is for him to. The only thing I can think of is for him to say, "I need you to take me to a hospital."
Yeah, exactly.
Which he never attempts because he needs to go to a fucking hospital.
Probably.
Which may not have worked, but it was worth it would have been worth a try. He jumps into her car upside down. He just yells at her to drive, and she says she's not going to drive until he calms down. So he calms down and asks her to drive away. He asks if she has a spare inhaler. If she has his spare inhaler from when they were dating. Turns out she does. He has asthma of some sort. Or something. Something involves taking an inhaler. So another handicap on him, which could have been an explanation for why they needed to take him to the hospital. He's like, hey, Nova, my inhaler broke. I need you to take me to the hospital. I'm in a very bad place. I was wandered out of my apartment and delirious, I guess. Nix was falling and was going to blow up the car with an RPG, but they drive away in time that she can't get away with it. So she wastes her RPG on a drone. Why? In broad daylight. Yeah, exactly. She could have used that. That would have been very handy later on.
Probably has more.
Yeah, he eventually tries to tell her the truth and shows her the guns, but she justifiably freaks out and runs off on him. So the next scene we get, we're brought back to Richter, who is having an argument with his director for these live streams, which ends in him choking out the director just to show he's villainous and to give them an update. Miles at this point is hidden inside of a clothing dumpster, which has resulted in which was the cause of the argument. Richter didn't want to take the camera off the dumpster, and the director did, and so yeah. Anyway, he Miles is very depressed, and he's about to do an impromptu suicide attempt when he is interrupted by this homeless guy who has like I'm guessing a New Zealand accent, because this is where this is filmed, partially at least. He points out that he's pointing the gun the wrong way to do a suicide. Eventually, Miles convinced the homeless guy to help him get dressed because of his wounds, which he obliges. He also gives Miles a hot dog, a half-eaten hot dog, which he initially rejects because he is a vegetarian and also a pacifist. So he doesn't want to actually hurt animals at all or people. It's actually like an 8-month-old hot dog too, which is gross. Nova, meanwhile, has gone to meet with the police. Oh, one more thing about the hot dog. He drops it on the ground at one point while he's trying to feed it to himself, and it's right next to a used condom. Or an empty condom. I don't think it's empty. I don't see anything in it, which is still bad. I mean, the fact there's nothing in it at least spares him that, or at least nothing visible in it. Maybe it, dried out. Oh god. Anyway, Nova. We cut to Nova, who is talking to the police, to this one sleazy-looking cop who we mistrust. This cop tells his partner to tail Nova. So the next stupid thing Miles does is he goes to work to get some technical help from his friend at work, who undoes the tracking app on his phone and sets it up so that he can turn it on and off, which would allows him to tell her where to go when he needs to. He then gets yelled at by his boss because he's 4 hours late to work, and eventually pulls his guns on his boss and gives him a shouting contest. It shouts at him quite a bit until the argument is ended when Nick shoots the boss in the back of the head, which this sort of thing happens a lot in this movie. People get shot out of nowhere.
This guy deserved it.
Next, I don't know. I mean, he's
okay.
bad,
well, maybe he didn't
but I don't
deserve it. He wasn't a good person.
Getting killed seems like a bit much. He has a dick, though.
I'm but saying he deserved at least maybe his guns pulled on him.
Yeah, guns pulled on him, not getting shot in the back of the head. There's there's a gunfight in the office. One guy doesn't notice because he has his headphones on max, and he's playing one of the covers. Miles manages to get away and manages to drive a car out of the place. So that's something he's managing to do with his gun hands. Nix follows him in a motorcycle. This eventually results in Nix getting her motorcycle on top of his car and backing into it to attempt to do a burnout on right on top of Miles's chest. And eventually Miles crashes, sending him through the window and her flying onto the ground. He gets out from this unscathed, and he passes up an easy kill on Nix because he's not one for killing people, I guess. She chases him a bit. They have a little talk in which it's actually kind of funny. She drops the R word, and he's just like, you shouldn't say that. And this is kind of, I kind of like him in this. I like Miles. I get his character quite a bit. I get where he's coming from. He's just like, I don't want to hurt nobody, and I don't like that people hurt other people, so I report people on Facebook to get them to get hate groups stopped. I get where he's coming from. Some of it's kind of dumb, like he Sometimes he just does get into dumb internet arguments, which any seasoned person would probably not do. But I think the internet references in this are reasonable. There's some of them which are pretty bad, but it does keep up the odd time and is all right. It's treading a line and just barely succeeding. There are a couple scenes where it's really bad. This conversation eventually devolves into a gunfight. He hits her for the first time and eventually fires into a big bunch of pipes, causing an explosion, a big fiery explosion, which doesn't hurt anybody, but causes Nyx to kind of have like a green Martian, I'm afraid of fire moment. And he aims his gun at her and then realizes that and just decides not to shoot her because he's not a killer. Let's just be honest. It gets to a point where he does kill people, but I mean that's after a long time and people that he's pretty certain are evil at that point. He does get to it though. But he's not there yet. He's certainly not going to kill somebody because someone else told him to, or just because someone else told him to. After this, he's trying. We see him trying to flag down a ride, failing because he has guns and people are just driving away from him, which he understands, but is just kind of like bummed. He tries to call Nova, which allows which is, as we've been hinted at earlier in the movie, proves that she can. Proves that now the police know what he's doing. During this phone call, they're having this phone call, and eventually Schism goes to kidnap Nova, which because he tried to leave town and that's against the rules. So he has a couple 5 hours left to kill Nyx. So they give him that ultimatum. He sets up a trap in a junkyard and calls 911 so they can maybe stop the fight and he can get some help from the police. He lets them know that he is willing to surrender and whatnot. He leaves his phone behind in the car where he makes the phone call on speakerphone because he has to use his nose to use his phone. Funny he doesn't I guess no, I suppose I was going to say it's funny he doesn't set it onto some sort of disability mode. But I mean, that would probably be too much. That'd probably be too difficult. And require I'm like sitting in one place for 10 minutes trying to figure it out. Unless it's my old iPhone, and then in which case you can just turn it on by accident anytime you feel like it. Yeah, no, my old iPhone, if you hit the home button 3 times, it would turn on it would turn on this function where every time you pressed a button, it would read out what it did and it wouldn't let you use the apps, which is supposed to be something useful for blind people, but it wouldn't let me access anything. So I don't know how that works.
So you couldn't shut it off?
I mean, I did eventually, but it took me like 3 times to do it accidentally. So he's setting up this ambush or whatever. He's walking around when he accidentally walks into another movie. Not literally, as far as I know, but he walks into some gang negotiation that's going on also in the junkyard, and they're all pointing guns at him. And he's like, "Hey, I'll just give peace a chance." And they're pointing guns everywhere. And eventually, Nick shows up and he's like, "Hey," no one gets to kill Fuckboy, and he's like, "Yay!" Except for me. And he's like, "Oh," which is a fun little genuine moment from Miles. He's kind of endearing. Nyx has a minigun and uses it to fire at all the gang members, killing most of them. Eventually, Miles is running away. One of the gang leaders is chasing him, pulls a gun on him. Miles fires his gun back at the gang leader, which hits him in the neck, resulting in the gang leader dying. And this is Miles' first kill. It should also be noted that he's only used like 10 bullets between his 2 guns at this point. Yeah, because he hasn't been firing a ton. He fired a couple times in his first gunfight with Nyx, or his second encounter with Nyx. But Other than that, no, it's just been a
Didn't he
couple
also
times.
shoot off a couple of accident rounds in the first couple of
Yeah, no,
movies of
that's
him
counted.
having?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A dozen, 15 bullets, I think, is all he's fired.
Oh yeah.
So at this point, he gets captured by the cops because at this point, they're explicitly trying to capture him, which is something the sleazy cop character had said earlier. He said he needed miles for something. He gets loaded into the back of the car with the sleazy cop and his partner, who has a weird habit of putting Smarties all over in like shapes around tables. I don't know. It's weird. Smarties are like M&Ms for the American listeners. I have to clarify
Yes.
that apparently.
That's Canadian.
Yeah, I think so. I think Smarties are something else in other places too.
Oh.
I think
Huh.
Smartie, like some people call rockets Smarties. Maybe I'm not sure about that, but I don't think they have Smarties in the States
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
because the Americans have to make everything confusing. Now I'm just being petty. So the sleazy cop and his partner drive miles around. They drive past the hospital, which is where he needs to go. The sleazy cop reveals that he is after Nix because the guy who is running Schism is a guy named Richter who killed the cop's family, and Nix is his daughter, so he's going to use Miles as bait in order to get to Nix. Next, we cut to a scene with Nova being in custody of Richter, and he points out here that he owns the cops, which is we then cut back, which leads us to a cutback in order while they park out in the middle of nowhere so they can set a trap, and then the dad cop's partner shoots him in the back of the head because he's corrupt and working for Richter.
Which makes a lot more sense. How they get away with?
Yeah, because they need some police corruption in court to keep this running.
Yeah, they would need at least some form of disguise within the police community. So stuff like when Nix just decides to shoot an RPG at a drone, it doesn't get called in instantly and stuff.
So yeah, bad cop kills dad cop and shows him a recording of Richter telling him that he has 30 minutes to kill Nix or he will kill Nova. Miles goes into a gamer bar and gets some girl to track down Nova's cell phone, which reveals that he is getting somewhat popular on this deathmatch circuit as she attempts to take a selfie of him and he wanders away. He goes to the address where Nova was, and Richter just in the back of a van and kills a guy who's revealed to be Miles' friends from work who had been snatched earlier. He meets up with Nix in order. He starts lures Nix to himself by activating the thing on his phone again, which he sets up a confrontation with her, which ends in Nix shooting him several times in the chest, which obviously leads to her win. Some of Richter's guys go to retrieve Miles' body, and it's revealed that he's just playing dead after a while when he kills the guys who picks them up after he is dropped off into a building where presumably Richter is. It is revealed that they made a plan before he went after Nova the first time, in which he had called Nix to let her know what the deal was, and she agrees to help him because Richter just had her dad killed. They make a big deal about the fact that Nix shot him more than once.
You'd think if they were gonna, I was gonna say, you think if they were like such a big organization that they'd put some form of heartbeat sensor onto the guns or something.
And that's maybe a bit too advanced, but I do have questions about how he was able to play dead for that long and then not to be able to realize that he was dead. because he would have had to play dead for at least like half an hour, and like really good playing dead too. Still, though, it seems like it's really it's another plot hole that didn't check him for vital signs or something. Yeah, they're really bad at their job. Yeah, he makes a big deal about the fact that Nick shot him more than once, and she was only supposed to shoot him the once. Which, to be fair, Kevlar is only really good to protect you from maybe a few bullets. I don't think it takes this Kevlar vest takes way more than what it's technically able to. Besides what Nix did to him, he also takes a big machine gun to the chest a little bit later, which would probably not work as well as they're hoping it would.
I don't think it'd work at all.
Yeah, at all, if at all. So they kill a bunch of guys in Deadpool masks as they're gunning their way through Richter's hideout. Radcliffe is slowly running low on bullets. So they make their way through the mini bosses slowly. Nyx loses some of her fingers in a fight with one of the male bosses, who is fighting her with a hammer. She manages to win when she gets a sniff of some cocaine or meth, whatever. And I guess we're still under the impression that cocaine is a superpower, because it makes her hyper focused and she's able to defeat the thing. And this also gives us one of the dumbest lines in the movie, where she picks up a hammer and she's just like, "I have the power," which doesn't work here because that's a hammer. That's not a sword. She's making a He-Man reference.
But I'm assuming there's not a whole bunch of swords just lying around.
Still, they could have found
could
a
have
hammer
said it's hammer time.
related. Well, he said it was hammer time.
Oh, well.
Yeah, the guy said it was hammer time, so he stole that. So I don't know. They probably should just cut the "I have the power" line from the movie. That would just made it all better. So she eventually manages to beat the guy, but Daniel fucks it up when he blows up, accidentally shoots at the propane tanks that the hammer guy is sitting on, which causes them it can get knocked against the wall. Nyx is looking really bad at this point. She's got like one eye closed from getting beat up. She took several blows from the hammer guy's hammer. Nyx finds a bunch of the last big bunch of goons. Richter has since wandered off to make his way to a helicopter, at which point he also kills Bad Cop for crossing him, or like telling him, because the Bad Cop tells him it's over and that he's lost and they should just give up, which sends him into a rage and he gets killed. Nyx Rambos her way through the last bunch of goons because she wants to die on her terms, and then explodes a suicide vest she's wearing, killing the rest of the goons.
Which, not a good idea. If you're gonna like wear a suicide vest, you should probably not be close to gunfire at all.
Yeah, it might have been better just to toss this thing over the wall. Like, she could probably pull that off. You could probably just toss the whole thing across the room.
I mean, she's pretty haggard at this point.
I mean, it's maybe too heavy to that, but maybe throw it away in pieces.
Yeah.
Or why she even had this in the first place is a big question, but we'll skip over that. So Miles makes his way to the rooftop, and Richter has his gun to Nova's head. They do this scene, and he just does a thing where he's just like, "Yeah, but I'm going to shoot you anyway," and then shoots, and we get a very bad CG bullet, which I think is purposely bad for comedic effect because he misses like a motherfucker. At which point he has to go about beating Richter to death with his gun hands, which are now empty because he has no bullets left. During this moment, he's taken several gunshots from Richter, from the Bad Cop's big ass Magnum. This ends in him falling off the roof and him getting knocked off the ledge. So we get a scene of where they show him hallucinating about getting kissed by Nova, but his inner monologue reveals that this is like a cardiac arrest delusion, and he shows that Nova is like having panicking and having PTSD, which inspires her after all this to make a comic book about him called Guns Akimbo, because that is a name they came up for him during the attack during the event. And he is revealed to, after giving like a very heavy implication that he actually died, we see him in a car looking through a tablet at basic locations of different Schism tournaments, which Richter had revealed that he had managed to expand Schism to other cities, and he's just checking them off. And we get a glimpse of his surgically healed hands. We can see the marks still, but he is just holding his guns like a normal person, and he's made it his mission in life to beat up Schism, because that's his character arc. He wanted to help people, but he didn't have a good, effective way of doing that, which I kind of like. I think it kind of works for him, because he was kind of just reporting sick bastards on the internet and then making that into a big deal. So, and now he's doing something real. But I have the feeling that he's actually dead, because like I was saying earlier when we were first talking about the guns, he probably should be losing his hands from this. And he also took like at least 10 gunshot wounds, not like 5 of which were right before he was on the roof bleeding and like having his death hallucination. So I'm thinking that this is just my implication, but this entire series of events is somewhat, or at least this is happening within the fiction of the Guns Akimbo comic book that Nova Alexander makes. So I think he actually does die on that roof, and maybe even the entire thing's just like a recounting from the comic book.
That's actually very possible.
But at very least, something happened, and that inspired her to make the comic book.
Yes.
I don't think it was all a dream, but I think the last couple scenes, I think, are a dream where he's in the car with healed hands. I think that's probably just a made-up fiction.
I mean, it's possible that he survived somehow.
Yeah, but hear me out on this. He's not a protagonist from Fairy Tale.
Yeah, but like maybe Nova stopped having a screaming match and called an ambulance.
Oh, I think there's absolutely an ambulance involved. I just don't think it could have possibly showed up soon enough.
That's fair.
And by the way,
but
soon enough would have been like immediately after he got those guns put into his hands. So I think he's not only too late for the surgery for the gunshot wounds, too late for surgery in general, because he almost certainly has a ton of blood poisoning.
I mean, there's the argument that the Schism has at least one decent doctor on their payroll that could come in and theoretically.
Yeah, no, I don't think that. Yeah, it just stretches my imagination that he could have been saved, because I think yeah, it's just so many medical issues at this point. I mean, I do like the idea though that he made it, and I do think that's really badass, that moment where he's like holding up the guns with his bolt scars in his hand. But I think both things are valid, and certainly if there is a sequel, I'll treat it as if it's like something out of the comic book. But yeah, well, what are you giving the movie, Cody? Or what do you? Any final thoughts?
I don't know. I definitely think it's because I watched it the first time, and I watched it a few months ago because I watched it for myself, not for the podcast at that point in time. I definitely think it has replayability.
Yeah.
Every so often rewatch it if you enjoyed it. It's just not going to be like something that you watch more than once or twice or 3 times or.
Yeah, I'll also talk about occasionally through the movie they'll cut away to different through the movie they cut away to different people who are viewing the podcasts or viewing the stream, and they show people enjoying it, but the last moments of it are kind of like Miles points out that this moment where everyone's lying bleeding on the the roof and bleeding out and people's crying, that turns a lot of people off that, and they are replaced, he says. But I think he does point out that like this level of violence would not be something that normal people could actually enjoy. So he's putting that little statement out there, which I think is good. He makes several statements throughout the movie about how the people watching this are sick fucks, and I think he proves his point about that by the end. So points there. Oh, and also it's during these cutaways to viewers, they show a few cutaways to the homeless guy, and at one point it's just revealed that he's looking at a broken TV and just reacting to nonsense. And that's pretty funny.
Yeah, the guy definitely has a good role in the movie.
Yeah, what's your score, Cody? Unless you have something else to bring up.
I don't know. I'm gonna give it about a 6 out of 10. It has its moments. It's funny. I don't quite fully care too much about like the implications it's trying to make about how we as society are being desensitized to violence via video games and other news outlets and stuff like that. Or maybe that's just because I'm desensitized to violence due to video games and news outlets and stuff. But I just want to watch a movie about a guy with guns for hands, and if you that's what you want to watch, I mean, it does that for you.
I think that is kind of stated in this, actually, because like especially with the ending monologue, it's just like, oh yeah, people, it's all fun and games as long as you're editing it in order such a way to make it entertaining. But like but it points out that like, okay, most people are not okay with like real violence, and real violence is very different from movie violence, and they're going to realize that when the time, God forbid, the time comes.
And I mean, this takes a lot of liberties on what a human body can physically handle.
Yeah.
Because he gets shot 5 times.
See my earlier skepticism about Miles surviving these events. I'm going to give it a 7, which is only slightly higher than you. It's got too many flaws for me to give it any higher than that. I don't really care for Richter as a villain. I think either he needs an actor who's better suited toward the performance and to do it a little better, maybe someone a bit younger, I don't know, but I just don't think he pulls off what they want to do in this, or at very least they could have gone with something a little different. But I do think it has suitable enough twists and turns and sophisticated filmmaking in order to make it all at least fairly watchable, like reasonably watchable. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, next week we're doing Delta Force, which will be Chuck Norris's one and only appearance on the show. Yep. Yeah, because he lost 3 times. That's the magic number. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. You failed us for the last time, Chuck Norris.
First and last time.
Well, third and last time. He failed 3 times.
Well, okay. Yeah.
So yeah, Delta Force next week. Also, and then after that, we'll have the big finale, which I will reveal next week, because I'm essentially going to watch the same movie 2 times for that as a hint, because there's 2 cuts of it. So yeah, follow us on Facebook at Kyle and Cody's Called CinemaCast. Follow us on Twitter at KCCCC. Like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Give the podcast a 5-star review on things you can. Subscribe to it on Spotify. Circulate the links. And yeah, see you guys next week for the 24th episode, as we do the last regular episode of season 1. All right, we're stopping recording right now in 3, 4, 5. Goodbye.